Okay, we are getting started. Hey, Bubbles,
Hey,
how's it going?
good.
Just share my screen too. Hopefully that works.
Oh, I see you now. Yeah.
Awesome. So first of all is consenting to be recorded. This is a public recorded documented session. So there's lots of things that you can do from like not sharing your name, not sharing private information, and obviously, of course, you can even change your voice or not share your video and everything. So we just want to verify that you consent and that you understand the terms and everything.
Yes, I consent to be recorded.
Cool. And overall, I like to give a little bit of intro. And like overall for me, public, transparent, public accountability kind of comes from the essence that our democracy is based on all of these very powerful, very rich controlling people getting elected and basically having all these private secret communications and conversations and decision making with lobbyists and big huge corporations and billionaires and trillionaires. And the idea is like, how do we build more transparent collaborative communications, which actually can also help at a local level. So it's just a whole different concept of organizing, and there's
Yeah.
plenty of risks because some people, especially in this type of movement with the strikes and the protests, that there's concerns about people being found out and being targeted. It also happens with just protesting and being anywhere in public and just getting out there and but it's also kind of a protest in of itself. It's like just telling the world and being like, we want to change things.
Yeah.
So yes, indeed. But yeah, I like to just jump in and get started, and we'll see as other folks come in. Looks like we have Lou Ben. So we'll go through the check-ins for each check-in, kind of how you're doing. I like to do a number between 0 and 10, but you don't have to. And then what you've been working on. And if you have any topics or questions or anything today that we can cover. And then obviously consenting. So I'll give an example to get started. My name is Jay, and I am doing okay. I'm probably around a 3.3, which is not too bad for me. But overall, generally overwhelmed and everything going on. I've been working on a lot of decision making options and also working on a lot of, kind of like a guide to public transparency and also just kind of like, you know, strategy team. A lot of strategy team activity going on. And I'm in California and will be going to Europe soon, Spain, and also am big into all the global activities. So I do the global generalstrike.global, generalstrike.global, and I just love anything decentralized. For me, decentralization of audio communication is public and transparent, so that no one can control. Like whatever you see on your computer, you can do anything you want. So decentralization is my thing. I love it. So that's and then topics. I mean, for me, it's all about just decision making, understanding it. So who would like to check in next and say hi?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So I'm in California as well, and I'm new to this group, but I think that we really need to have a general strike or like a sick in something we need to do to show that we have power and not just protesting. But the protesting is also good, and I think don't remember who it was, but somebody is putting together a paper version of the strike cards, and then have even more decentralized, like like you're a fan of, um, the information that we collect from people. So I'm thrilled about that. Looking forward to seeing more about that. How am I doing? Gosh, maybe I'm a 3.5 as well, because uh, I got super depressed about the Bernie thing. Like he's pulling in so many people, and I'm a total Bernie guy, but it just feels like he's shilling for the Democratic Party because they're not going to ever let him have power. So,
So sad.
what else? I think that's it for my check-in.
Nice. And you already consented. So Lou Ben, are you? there? You're on mute. I don't know if you're there. You want to say hi or check in or to remind you that we're doing a public recorded session. Um, so we'll give Lou a 10 seconds or so and see if he connects or communicates. Otherwise, we'll just continue with the two of us. Last week there was only four of us. This is a pretty small group, and like again, most people have no interest. I can't unmute. Huh.
I I had that problem when I was on my phone. I couldn't
phone.
do it on my phone.
Let me check the settings, see if there's anything here. Can't think of anything. I mean, for me, it's just like there's just the mute button, and you click the mute button, and it mutes on and off. So I don't know why that doesn't work, but maybe we can fix it. So, but for now, you can type, and we'll read for you, or you can try leaving and joining back in, and seeing if it helps. And we'll just go from there. Coolio. He's on the phone. Yeah. So I don't know why. If maybe there's a problem with the phone, which is odd, because I've certainly done phone before. I can double check on my phone. I always like to, verify that things are working. Oh, actually, yes. So, anyways, you bring up one other really important point is about the Bernie movement. So one of the things I'm huge into is coalitions between movements, and specifically, like for me, it's all about the Coalition for Decentralized Movement Organizing. So decentralized movement organizing basically means that there are decentralized organizations working working on movements and building a decentralized vision of humanity in essence. And I would say GSUS and the General Strike US is like basically the only verified decentralized organizing network that I have found on this scale. And and you bring up the Bernie movement. I also worked with 5051. I already got banned from 5051 for literally just doing this, like being public. They're just like, oh, you can't take pictures at protests. Oh, you can't go to protests. Oh, you can't, do anything public. And it's just very controlling, very centralized, very like, oh, it's too risky for anyone to do anything public, and therefore we have to control all the people, and only certified, approved, public, facing people are allowed to speak, and no one else can. You can hold your sign, but you can't say anything, So it's just very odd how even with the movements that are so pro democracy, they can still be very controlling and they can be very centralized.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm very interested in talking about Bernie movement. I actually am big time into Bernie and as well. But anyways, let's see if we can get some agreement on a topic. It's always difficult to try to get agreement on a topic, but for me, it's all about topics because whoever controls the agenda and what you're going to be talking about controls everything. It's the most powerful decision that can possibly be made. So I have a couple things on here. Last week we talked some about the wiki. So, but they're not here. And then decision-making options, I'm big time into that. We also talked about the charters last week, which was very interesting. So the wiki and the charters are very interesting if we wanted to go into that. I love the idea of strike card decentralization. I've actually worked quite extensively on ideas of decentralizing the strike card and what that would mean and all the concerns that had come out around having a centralized list of 11 million people, and 300 million on the global level. And then we could also talk about Bernie and coalition building between movements. All of those are really cool. First time.
Yeah.
And overall, just so you guys know, I've been doing this for a couple months. Again, very, very small turnout. People are generally just very concerned about anything being recorded. And then secondly, I will be heading to Europe in about a month. So I'm going to be kind of switching time zones on that. And then I'll be back. So we'll continue and see how that evolves. But it's just slowly, growing. And I think last week and the week before there was maybe 3-4 people who clicked the interested button. And this week there's actually 23 people who clicked the interested button. So even though there's only 2-3 of us here, there's certainly a lot more interest than there was even a week ago in the public session. So that gives me a little hope and gives me some excitement. And I'm just like, long-term committed to creating open, public, collaborative space, even if it's not necessarily popular. And always like, send out the warnings that, it can get you banned from places. It can get you, looked at differently. So it's just like, it's all about, for me, it's all about identity and personal consent and choice. Some people
Yeah.
are safer in private spaces, some people feel safer in public spaces. It really just depends on each person's personal interests. Um, and just making sure that diversity and decentralization is the priority, and that we just empower people as overall to be themselves. So, yes, Bubble, what would you
Have
like to talk about?
well, I'm curious, what is the point, the reason to do these recorded sessions?
Mhm.
How are they being used? I'm just curious.
So basically, the general idea is, at this time, for example, within the general strike, it's the only documented, recorded session for interacting and decision making and collaborating on anything. The only
Okay.
other recorded sessions I know about are like the introductory sessions, which are very, very, we'll just say, surface level, and not really going into depth on like the charters and the decision making and decentralization and issues and addressing things. So
Right.
for me, I look at it as kind of like a snapshot. So if different people come in and out each week, and it's sort of like a snapshot of kind of like what's going on in the organization, what's been happening with different people from different states and different places, and just kind of putting it on a record and kind of getting a documentation of it. So it's kind of like slash interview slash documentation slash, it's not the organization in any way whatsoever. It's like these random little week by week snapshots over time, because 99% of everything is happening privately, right? So
Yeah.
so in that context, it's a disconnect from like the active engagement, but it also creates a space where things can be, looked at in the future, and looking back and like, okay, these are some little snapshots of things that were going on at that time. Um, Overall, my larger term goal, which might not even be possible with General Strike, is building a public, decentralized, distributed organization. And I also work on decentralized cooperatives. And the general idea is like, what is so bad with creating one public organization, right? So that's like my goal, is creating a single public, transparent organization that collaborates and organizes and makes decisions publicly and transparently, without all of the private, secret activities going on in the background. So that, if there's 11 million people, there should be a group of people who should be willing to communicate and document things transparently eventually. So
Yeah.
for me, it's kind of laying that foundation. But in the more realistic concept, I'm all about coalition building. So for me, so I have a bunch of different websites, and as you'll evolve and understand the work that I do, it's all about decentralized collaborative decision making on like the largest scales. So some of the websites are, like I mentioned before, the generalstrike.global, and then you have the coalition.community. And I will indeed. Oh, are you back? Yeah, there you go. So the other website is the coalition.community, and then there's the 200 201.com, right? So these are all just various websites that are kind of like building a decentralized version. So one concept of decentralization, because I've been studying decentralization for decades, right? Decentralized organizing. So for example, blockchain is kind of decentralized. I'm very interested in crypto and blockchain and things like that, but at the same time, it builds centralized organizations, right? So the organizations themselves are all centralized and are controlled, and they're not decentralized. So I'm about building decentralized organizations and decentralized movement models. So it's a little bit different. So, but what you'll see is that, for example, General Strike US, for me, by definition, a decentralized model is global, because there can be no exclusion. As soon as
Yeah.
you are excluding people, it's no longer decentralized. If you say, oh, you can't be involved because you're, 10 feet on the other side of this artificial border, you're basically creating a barrier to entry, and you're creating a model that is not decentralized, and that is basically only chosen people can be a part of, right? So all of these models, in essence, like the 200 is 200 movements, 200 countries, 200 protests, 200 countries, one movement. So it's picking 50-51, and making it global, making it open to making it fully decentralized, because there should be no one who is like disconnected. So in that context, for me, the most likely direction that I'm going is that this group is kind of like going into the coalition.community, where we're trying to connect all the people from all of the movements who are willing to be public. And so it might be a small group, and we might not be able to do it within any one movement. So like the strike movement, there just may never be enough people who are willing to go public. So the idea would be to connect it to 5051, connect to the co-op movement, connect to the women's movement, just connect to all these different movements and build bridges in between them to try to build enough energy and momentum to actually build a public organization, if that sort of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's sort of my like long-term goals. I love General Strike because it's the only decentralized group I found so far. Like most other groups, it's like, oh, you want to do a recording? You're banned. It's like, well, that's not decentralized if you're never allowed to even share your identity and your experience. So General Strike is the only one I found so far that I can verify as truly decentralized. And I'm looking for more all the time. So it's pretty cool. Like I'm very excited about General Strike, and I'm 100% committed, and I'm all about building the global General Strike, which is going to be 300 million people, right? So hopefully that answers your question. General Strike.
Yeah.
Nice.
So where do I go to find like last week's
notes? Great question. So all of our notes for all of the sessions, and doing this on my own, I make lots of mistakes and don't get all the recordings perfect and all of that. But they're all here, and this is what I call the General Strike Public Group spreadsheet. So okay. I'll link that both to here in the primary location, and then we also have our public Discord. So overall, all of the public space and public Discords are basically the equivalent of the private ones, except for every single session would be recorded and transparent and documented, and every single chat would be sent to social media and put on websites. So there's just nothing that's private in the public Discords, right? So the rules are just function a little differently. And I totally support private communications, and I actually help build private organizations on all the different levels that we're trying to create. So when we create new organizations, there's always a private and a public option for everyone. Because privacy is super duper important. And again, 99% of people want private space, right? So in that context, it's just very important to have that. But the general concept here is like, what if the only way to get rid of corruption is to have public accountability, to decision making, to the actual decision making process? So it's a theory. It's like, let's experiment, let's play, let's have fun with it. And like, for me in my science and like just scientifically evaluating it, I see corruption almost 99.99% of the time it happens in private, right? But it's like corruption is a natural process. Like we all naturally want to take care of our family. We all naturally want to take care of our friends. We want to help our own communities and the people we know. And the people that are in power, it doesn't matter how powerful they are, how famous they are, they only really know a few hundred people, and then maybe have a couple thousand acquaintances out of the millions, if not hundreds of millions of people they affect. Because it's just impossible to really have a close relationship to more than like that many people. So in that context, it makes sense that they would want to help the people that they know, and then that just leads to corruption. So for me, corruption is really a natural process. And so it's thinking scientifically, how do we create tools and models and patterns to address the tendency and natural process of corruption? And one of these options is, public transparency. So did you get the link? Oh, I'll also put this link here for answering your question right on this chat there. Boom. So this is the link to the group sheet.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So from here we could go into a specific topic, or we could keep doing questions. I mean, I'm certainly having fun and just kind of going back and forth. I'd love to hear more about what you're interested in the General Strike and what you've been working on, or what teams you're on, or anything like that. Would certainly be cool too. And again, the topics I have here are like Bernie, strike card decentralization, charters, decision making, wiki, coalition building. I think we've kind of been talking about coalition building mainly so far. Make that topic
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, and maybe we could talk a little bit more about coalition building. It's interesting. I am part of 5051 as well, and yeah, their whole thing is we're not going to make any of our stuff public, so we're not putting that out there. But the Women's March is okay. I mean, they're all public. There's no hiding in Discord for them.
Well, yeah, I'd definitely be interested in the women's march. It's hard with the women's I won't go too much into the scientific side, but the tondos and like just creating open, neutral places. You always fear and worry about, being involved in a women's group just because woman is in the title, even if it's, of course, it's open to everybody. But anyways, I love to check it out. I'd love to connect and build bridges with any group that's willing to consider,
Yeah.
the public side of collaboration. So great idea. Yeah.
And I think like Indivisible is also okay with having their information public, as far as I've seen with them.
Yeah, and I mean the main reason, of course, why in the past I haven't gone super headfirst into Indivisible and um, Women's March because it's obviously not necessarily, in my perspective, decentralized per se. It's very like top down or controlled. I mean, it's just like it's obviously a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was very interested in 5051 and checking it out. And then, of course, it ended very abruptly and sadly, but it was still worth it, and I enjoyed every minute of being involved in 5051. I went to the California, meetings and all that stuff, and it was really really cool. So I'm going to continue trying to reach out to them and see if they'll change their policies. I mean, it was just a little bit odd, because they told me, oh, it's perfectly fine to live stream and record and take pictures, but you just need consent.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, and I got consent, and they just banned me anyway. So but yes, I've definitely been connecting to Indivisible. Actually, a new Indivisible group locally here that is getting involved, and that's another thing I love about General Strike is how open it is to like working with all the other groups, and collaborating between groups and everything, which is just awesome. And I think it's really cool that 5051 was reaching out and did the union with the Women's March and Indivisible for the April 5th march. So that was awesome. And so yeah, just seeing how those things can continue to connect and unionize and build. But I definitely want to see a bigger, more substantial, decentralized organization like on the ground in the United States. And maybe General Strike might be that thing. We'll see how that evolves. Or we could push more decentralization into other movements and other groups, or create something new. So all of those things are great. But because of you, I'm definitely going to jump headfirst. I couldn't find any Indivisible Discord, but I'm definitely going to just search right away for the women's.
No,
March.
they're not on Discord either.
Oh, so neither of them on Discord. All right.
Yeah,
Do you know
it's
where
frustrating.
do you know where they are? Are they?
They have a link tree, they have a website,
Yeah.
And yeah, you can go. So they are decentralized in the fact that they have local branches or local groups everywhere. Like I'm in Yolo County, so I do Indivisible Yolo, and
Nice.
and then there's like the Sacramento, and it gets bigger and bigger. And I know they're part of the Democratic Party and all of that, but they do have a lot of outreach. I mean, a lot of reach into different communities.
Yeah, I'm very very scientific when it comes into decentralization. And trying not to go the Trumpy way of just like changing vocabulary just to make it benefit you. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, these groups are more distributed and very centralized. Like they're centralized and they're distributed and they're normally federated. So they could
Mm-hmm.
create a federated structure where they have representatives that kind of boil up, and then it's a little bit can be a little top down depending on situations. So anyways, I'm definitely always open to reevaluation and redouble checking and re-understanding. But anything that's basically like just a website and just a social media and just like a surface level, and you don't have any actual, there's no underlying data or information or communications, typically is going to be both private and centralized. So you're looking like in a decentralized organization, which is almost unheard of. I mean, until I found GSUS, I couldn't even find one. Just trying to create my own and just like, they just didn't exist. It's like,
Yeah.
you're going to be able to see the actual communications within, so 5051 is actually quite open compared
Right.
to Indivisible and the Women's March, right? So Indivisible was very, very open, very, very broad, but very private in that they had layers and levels. So they had the public layer, and then you had to get approved into the next layer, and then that. So General Strike actually has a similar vetting process where they actually have a layer of vetting that then is basically private and no one's allowed to go there. And so I'm sort of like this experiment where I want to get as involved as I possibly can without ever crossing the barrier, the private barrier. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
an experiment, or let's see how far you can get in a group without crossing the private barrier. And so you get a little bit further within GSUS, but there's still major barriers to entry in terms of real facilitation empowerment. Luckily, you can basically create any Discord you want and create any group you want to see how it evolves. So GSUS has been around for over 3 to 4 years now, like 2021, 2022. Right?
Mm.
It's definitely way before a lot of the crazy stuff happened in it. And when I got involved, there was only 3,000 people on the Discord, and now it's like going towards 20,000. So it's like it's amazing how much it's grown in such a short period of time. And I've only been here for like 4 months, 5 months, 4 or 5 months out of
I
this
think
3 or 4 years.
the
So
political situation is
is
contributed to
pushing
it.
big time. Yes, indeed. Wow. So it's like, um, you know, I feel like in my case, you can't really evaluate with General Strike for at least another 2 or 3 years. So if I'm involved another 2 or 3 years and it still hasn't gone anywhere, then it'll be concerning. But we'll see how things go, and evolve. But I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of interest in the General Strike on public transparency. One particular interest is in the I'm working with the group on the strike funds. So
Mm.
we built the guidelines and the information for all the local chapters on how to set up a strike fund and how to it's a draft, of course, but it's just like, this is how you can set up a strike fund. This is what we're looking at. This is the criteria for accountability and, what you would expect. And then, because the goal is not to have one single place where all the money is stored, we want to decentralize the money everywhere and make sure that
Mm.
no one group has too much money and making sure it's at the local level as much as possible, which is awesome. And so from there, the idea of public accountability and public transparency in relationship to money is people seem to have a really just immediate understanding on. And the
Mm.
idea that monetary decisions might have a higher standard of transparency is a
Mhm.
really cool is a accepted concept in GSUS. So that's really cool. And so I'm interested in building like for example, this group could have like a branch that spins out. So there's kind of like the general national like public group, which is this, right? And we're slowly building this public group, and we could branch off and have like a finance strike public group that would kind of publicly have these snapshots of publicly being holding accountable the treasurers and the people overseeing the money in a public light. So the treasurers themselves and the people overseeing the money might do things with privately in private groups, but then they would attend and check in at the public level, and they would agree to things like, oh, we're gonna do an audit, on July 15th. We'll have it ready. So if they do it all privately and then July 15th comes along and nothing happens, it's like, well, we didn't do it. Maybe next time, right? But if they do it publicly and it's transparent and it's recorded, it's like, well, where is this July 15th? You said you're going to get us an audit. Where is it? Let's see it. So this creates a layer of integrity, where you can start getting a little more balance on that. So it's an interesting concept, and there seems to be interest in that. So that would be like one example of a tool of using a public group to actually
Mm.
help accountability for the functionality of the finances. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the actual public group there would also be the private finance group that would oversee all the main things. And the private finance group, their main question would be, okay, what would we want to be public? What of our financial data and information do we want to have be public? That would be the main question for the private group in relationship to the public group, whereas the public group is trying to get the information and then hold the group accountable and understand what's going on with the finances, because any way you look at it, a private finance group is probably going to be a handful of people, like maybe 5, 10 people, So it's
Yeah.
like, what about the other 11 million? Like, what will they be able to know for it? Because if your finances are bad, like we're not going to be able to raise a lot of money. We're not going to be able to be as successful. We don't want people to be like, oh, did you hear about what happened to the. Let's give an example. Unfortunately, with whether it's BLM or I mean, I would even say Bernie to some extent. Bernie raised $500 million, and where did all that money go? It went to the 1%. He basically raised. It's like the opposite of Robin Hood. So like
Yeah.
if we
Well,
could talk a lot more
it
about
went to
Bernie.
Hillary's campaign.
Hillary's campaign. Oh, that's so funny. Yes, indeed. So, anyways, I mean, what I want to see is I want to see people stop giving their money to big money special interests like centralized groups and start funding the actual revolution, which means local groups that are organizing and supporting. I mean, I'm all about decentralization. So, local, regional, national, global, like all the different levels and all the different groups and making sure they're all organizing for the people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will not give any money to Act Blue anymore
Yeah.
after Bernie.
Ugh.
And I tell them
I
because so many things are just clickbait or give us money. And I say, do
fear.
a GoFundMe and I'll give you money, AOC, but I'm not giving anything to Act Blue. Fuck them. Excuse me. We're being recorded.
Well, you can see we get frustrated, But yes, Act Blue is very, very silly on so many levels, and like they always ask for those donations. You're like, what do you mean? You're already taking 3%, and you want more, and this is like,
Do your job.
yeah, do your job. So I mean, it's I don't want to get too much into the ideology and the rhetoric. I'm much more into the science and just the evil of polarization and the science of how to prevent polarization and transforming our democracy to be the power needs to be in the people. It's like the people and the power, and that's possible
Absolutely.
to do. Like we have science, the new science that coming out. I mean, it's just amazing. Like I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll link it again. But basically, it's this whole organizing structure guide that I made for GSUS for the strategy team that I just got ready, and this is the topic I was talking about for the decision making, where basically it goes over all the different options for decision making, and part of it's the scientific decision making, like understanding how to apply science, and the whole polarization of our democracy in the United States is like the exact opposite
Yeah.
of that. So I'll throw that in the notes and in the chat here, and this is the decisions options for GSUS that we're working on here. So yeah. So I mean, instead I could go off and it just gets very negative of all the problems that we have, but I think that the future is focusing on the solutions.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
So this whole thing of being transparent, we could have stuff in Proton Drive instead of Google Docs, right? Because
of course
there is this thing where it's good to be transparent with the people that are involved, but bad actors and this whole thing, what the government is doing now, it sounds like they'll take any little thing of rebellion and deport us, even though we're American citizens. Did you hear about the guy who's like third generation Italian, and they said you have to leave? Your parole has ended, and you must leave the country.
No, tell me all about it. Like so, like he was on parole.
No, he's an American citizen,
Yeah.
born here. The only connection he has to Italy was 3 generations ago, and they just make shit up.
Yeah, but they haven't actually deported him yet. It's just they're just talking about it.
They gave him 15 days.
15 days. Interesting. Well, I'm sure I'll hear more about it then.
It should be, yeah.
Yes.
I get a lot of information from Substack these days.
Yes, Substack, a lot going on there for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's serious. It's big time. I mean, there is a lot of fear out there. I mean, you yourself already talked about how the whole Act Blue and the Democratic money special interest is just these constant fear campaigns, and just all like raising billions of dollars based on fear. And I can't argue against it. Sure, it's real. It's big time. Um, so in that context, there's no question that there is a perfect rationality to make everything secure, everything private, everything secret, just like keep everything under the wraps and keep it dark. But at the same time, there's also a component where it's just like, bring light to the darkness, and like, what if we were successful? What if we did, bring the revolution, the people got the power? Then what would the world we want to see be? And building that world now. So
Yeah.
in that context, like I agree, like getting out of Google, getting out of all the social media, getting out of anything and everything related to, tech, big money, special interests, and all of that. And yes, I'm stuck in a lot of different things. I mean, even Amazon is just evil and horrible. But there's also a lot of conveniences, and like they're the biggest backbone of the entire internet with AWS. So it's like it's complicated to say the
It
least.
is.
And that's
It,
where we all have to work together to understand and build these systems and evaluate them and understand them and connect them and
yeah.
make sure that they're useful and everything like that. I'm looking at Proton right now and seeing kind of what they have going on here. Do you know if they have spreadsheets? That was like the main thing I'm trying to figure out here.
Yes. You can put your spreadsheets there.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
see.
Good. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely have Proton Mail. So I've done Proton Email in the past. So the Proton Drive is a little newer in the last couple of years.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll definitely
And,
look at that and try to transfer over.
yeah. So I'm all for the transparency and decentralization. I think these are great. Um, and you're totally right about if everything is exposed, then you can't have a lot of corruption because it's all out there. But protecting us from the, I hate to say it, the government
Absolutely.
seems like would also be a good strategy.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Indeed. But I mean, again, the model that I'm presenting is that all of our documents, all of our information, all of our communication, everything's public, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the context of the protection, it's already all public, it's already out there. So whether it's on Discord or whether it's on Signal or whether it's on wherever, it's still public in essence, right?
Yeah.
But there is a difference between uh, public transparency and securing documentation, right? Having security doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be private or secret, right? You can have
Right.
a transparent, secure network of data and information, which is why I'm also all about decentralization. Like whether you're looking at, App Protocol and Blue Sky, or you're looking at, some of the other decentralized communications like Elements, or there's some new ones that are kind of like Discord, the decentralized Discord models that they're working with. So, anyways, let's go to Rent Sky real quick. Kyle, how you doing? We are having a chat, not really a topic going on, but we have brought up the potential topic of the wiki and talking about it. But did you want to check in and say hi? We've had some issues. Oh yeah, there you go. You're able to unmute, and you can also consent to recording as usual.
Yes, yes. I do consent to be recorded. I'm, just stopping by to see this week's meeting going. The wiki has been unlocked, so that's going well. We've had some people join from a couple state chapters and raise important questions about how it's actually going to look organizationally, so that's going to be nice for that to come up. Wiki meeting went as scheduled on Sunday, so there'll be another one this Sunday probably. Is today Sunday? No.
Yes,
right?
today
Yeah, it is.
Sunday.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's another one tonight then.
Cool. Very awesome. Yeah, we're mainly talking about decentralization, multi-coalition building, movement organizing, between women's, dealing with Bernie stuff, Democrat stuff. Also talked a little bit about, the wiki, and also documentation, security. Lots of topics, or lots of discussion items. No agreed upon topic, which is fine. or proposal, but we would love to, I would love to get into the wiki articles and start prioritizing some wiki articles, which would be fun. Could also talk more about decision making options, and then there was also a little bit that came up about the strike card decentralization, which was really interesting. But yes, I'll go back to you, Bubbles, and see if you had anything else.
No, I'm good. We can move on.
Yeah, and Lou, Ben does not have the ability to speak, so there's text only if he wants to add anything. But so, do you want to jump in and talk more about the wiki, Kyle, and give a kind of more of an update, or do you want to? I mean, for me, I would love to even just like start brainstorming articles that we want, and then just prioritize them and see what we can move forward.
There's actually already a prioritized list inside the Project Tracker channel with all the articles that need written.
That's what I want to hear. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Another thing is if you've submitted anything to the link tree, or if you have parts of the link tree, describing the link tree and even the welcome article and packet itself will allow for those things to be updated if your real concern is intake for people immediately.
So welcome packet and welcome information onboarding. Nice.
Yeah, over in the GSUS wiki
here we go, GSUS wiki.
Yeah.
Got there.
Yes.
So then let's go.
Fight the dystopia up at the top of that channel.
Oh no, what's going on here? Oh, wonderful Discord confusing me again. So if I click on here again, does it do it? Jump to top.
Open in full view.
There it is. Boom. Thank you. All right, so we are looking for the list.
Yeah, it's got one of those weird little Discord box brackets around it, so it stands out from the rest of everything. It's high up in this chat.
Up, up, up. Oh.
Up past my job description.
Oh yeah, here we went over all the job descriptions last time, or the process models, and that was all good.
Those are some of Fight the Dystopia's post descriptions.
Is this a chapter map? No.
Some of these are ideas, but there's a further grouped up, like it's got one of these block things around it, like an embed for, there it is.
Oh, wow, okay.
I think it might even be sticky.
This looks like it may have been actually copied from the wiki itself. So I'm just gonna put this into here. So let's call this notes. All right, so this is very interesting indeed. So let's kind of go through this list. This is exciting. So about GSUS, general strike, create page 3.5 rule, time banking. So each of these would be separate pages. For example, a 3.5 rule, time banking is a project. Website, welcome packet, history. So this is the thing you already just covered. Which you're prioritizing, just getting onboarding. The history, very interesting. Know what's so interesting about the history that I heard was that the original person who got this all started, they are no longer involved, and they sort of passed the baton to Day. So I thought that was really interesting. But they were all about, the thing I always remember from talking with Day was that, because I'm all about decentralization and working on all these new projects, and she was saying that the original vision was always that there could be multiple websites and multiple organizations involved in this decentralized network, that it's not all one thing. So I was like, awesome, because that's what I did. I created 3 new websites and new groups. So values. So kind of like what I'm seeing here is sort of, this is the website and the welcome packet sort of laid out. And then you have all of the different demands. So basically it's the welcome packet in the wiki.
Well, each one of these would definitely need to be its own article, which would spawn a bunch of articles underneath and cross-linked to it, and that could cross-link. Like, you might have things like, you write the article on Palestine, and you write the article on Sudan, and then you end up writing an article on urban guerrilla warfare, and it cross-links to successful tactics used to delay an apartheid system, and like that builds into a whole tree of links. Like, by creating these initial seed pages, it'll tell us what we need to fill out the interstitial pages or the connecting pages. Like, until you have the skeleton down, it's hard to start attaching connective tissue to shit.
Yes, indeed. I guess my only feedback at this point in time would simply be, um, you know, getting a broader look at prioritization. Like for example, maybe even stepping back from prioritization and looking at the goal. What is the goal of what is the goal of the wiki? Is it supposed to be for new people? Is it supposed to be a utility tool for organizers? Is it, kind of understanding the specific goal of the wiki? So I'm assuming you guys have talked about that. Maybe you have that already. So you could link that and we could go over that real quick. And then from there, listing all the possible, priority articles. And then for me, it's like, if the goal is the wiki to be a tool, only replicating the welcome packet might make people feel like it's not very useful at the beginning, right? Because like you can have one article on the welcome packet and then link the welcome packet.
That's actually the thing that I was saying.
Yeah.
Is we're not recreating the welcome packet, but we're explaining the function of the welcome packet and the committee around the welcome packet and the process for updating the welcome packet on the wiki page for the welcome packet. The welcome packet itself would be an embedded link there, but like the main purpose of the wiki is to be a tool for the movement to organize information, as well as a soapbox for all members of the movement to use to shout, like using user talk pages, their specific ideas and ideals for the movement. We might have someone who is a 9/11 truther and someone who is a flat earther who wish to, espouse that these are their platforms, but there's no place for that in the greater movement. But we don't want to tell them, hey, you have to shut up. So you've got your user talk page to give your takes that are related to why you think the movement should be pushing towards these particular goals. And then, like, that's a way for people to see your edit history and understand where it's coming from.
Very cool. I got it. Yeah, that sounds exactly what I was looking for, and it makes perfect sense. I love the idea of explaining the welcome packet and how the process of updating everything. Like that is the kind of information that is like would be amazing to have.
It's also a place for notes about meetings to be kept. If you've ever seen how Real Wikipedia handles recording congresses, there'll be a different page for a different session of Congress. We might have a financial quarter where we have, like, this is what the rules were during this section of leadership, and they were updated at this point. So, decisions made back then clearly didn't take this rule into account. Ugh. Sorry, need some more.
Cool. So someone jumped on. If you want to check in, you're welcome to. You're currently muted. You can consent to being recorded in the such. Right now it says GSU's Oregon chapter. So not sure if you wanted to say anything, or if you're just listening.
Hey, yeah, I'm just listening for right now. This is Dalian from the Oregon chapter.
Oh, it's Dalian.
I'm doing some printing and also chopping up some flyers, so I'm going to probably be muted and just listen in so you don't have to hear my printers going in the background.
Cool.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Nice.
And I consent to being recorded.
Nice. So we have about 12 minutes, and then we have the welcome session. So it's always good to remind us of that. And this has been a very, informal just chat and talking, and glad some people jumping in here. And so we'll double check again in about 12 minutes for those who want to switch over. And also you, Luben, have you been to the welcome group, Bubbles?
No, I haven't.
So highly recommend that, kind of getting the overview, understanding everything going on with the General Strike US, and connecting and answering, asking questions. There's some discussion time. So I don't believe I'll be able to make it this week because I have a few other things going on, but I'll be there next week, and I go almost every other week and just try to learn a little bit more here and there and just connect to folks. So
sounds like it's evolving.
It does evolve, but it's the basic information and getting it out there, and it's just so important for people to get that, and the work that Dalian does and Day does in making sure the information is consistent and available to everybody is amazing and essential. Very cool. Yeah. So for me, I always talk about having a space to just kind of get deeper in ideas and back and forth and like the wiki and like other concepts and learning more about what's going on with projects. It's sort of like a step 2 or, going beyond the intro session itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like my questions on the wiki were answered. I think that's really, really cool. I'm still not 100% sure what article I'm going to work on, but I'm committed to at least helping get the welcome packet up and on there and clear it on that, and just helping with that as a community and just make sure that happens. So if you have any other recommendations or ideas, Rent Strike, Kyle, you're welcome to put that out there.
The root article for the link tree is going to be a really critical one to get established that explains how the link tree is organized and how to go about adding resources to the link tree. Since a lot of people, after they get done with the welcome packet, are going to be like, well, what do I do now? And since the link tree is where we're dumping all of our like raw sister organizations and shit, finding a local cause in your area and writing an article about it for the wiki so that other people can get exposed to it, going to be a really great way to boost community and give people something to do as soon as they get here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing some articles on like being involved in the women's movement and Indivisible, and see, it's also trying to get people to do strike cards. So yeah, I mean, I'm at that place where I did the welcome thing, and it's like, where do I go from here?
Yes, like using the wiki for like a launch pad for, kind of like next steps and everyone getting involved is a really great idea. Oh, Discord channel. What's this? What are you linking here?
That's just the link for everyone to the GSUS wiki topic within the projects channel on the GSUS Discord.
Cool. So yeah, so that's the projects channel. And then I also just wanted to link to the notes to make sure we just have the link to the wiki itself, because I always forget all the links, and that's why we have link trees, right? So I'm looking at our past notes. I know it's here somewhere because we did talk about it last week.
You killed the recording.
I did?
Oh, it ended.
Okay, I'll just do it again. I didn't hear it. For
Recording is on.
This particular recording is it's just to be able to hear the recording, if that makes sense. So there's like 4 other recordings going on, plus the OBS and other things, because like you can't count on Jitsi. Jitsi's great for recording, makes it really simple, but you can't count on it. It always dies. So I always have backups. But anyways, I don't know. I can't find it. I know we had it last week, but for some reason I cannot find the link to the wiki. It's gotta be here. Come on, Mr. Rent Strike guy. Kyle, what is it? All right, there it is. There it is. Excellent. GSUS wiki. Okay, so let's get this in the notes. Make sure this is also in the main strike group info. Link to wiki.
You don't actually need action history there.
Yeah. Link to wiki. Cool.
I had some information that might help for just kind of knowing about the link trees. I believe the GSUS resources link tree, you would want to talk to Daydreamin about that one. I believe they're the main person who helps maintain the Proton drive that a lot of those documents are coming from, as well as the actual link tree access itself. They just kind of started on their own and started working on it and building it for the community as a need that they saw to fill, ages ago. And as we've grown bigger, we've been focusing on onboarding people for other projects, but I'm sure we could probably give other account access to people if they're willing to contribute on that project and take it off of Dave's hands a little bit. We just want to make sure that those people are trusted so that they won't, they'll be responsible and kind of like timely in like getting to people's requests if they want stuff changed or added there. And then there's also state level link trees, which is a project that I helped coordinate. And so there's like a big master list of all the link trees that have been made so far for the different states. And that's also somewhere you can find on the Discord server. And I'll see if I can get the link to where that is in case that was also something you were interested in.
Great. So
That's great, and if you could drop that link in the general project channel that I sent for the wiki, we could use it, and we'll pin a direct link to that shit.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, there is a pinned message within the make the Linktree like project area that has the master list of all the currently made link trees and who is helping facilitate them at this point. Over.
cool. So it says making a state region chapter link tree. Is it that one? I think that's it. Hopefully that's it. So so I've got that one there, and then I'll see if I can find anything in the pins. And then I have one last question, and then we'll see if anyone else has any one last questions before we wrap up. Which is that any update on the discords in relationship to the starfish and like, you know, the new official discords rolling out? Is there any update on that in terms of timeline? Maybe he's busy cutting and things like that. But anyway, so that was the only other question that I had, which will evolve out, because I always get questions about that, like, oh, when is going to be more discords? And then, oh, here's a bunch of Linktree, example link trees. So I'm going to copy all this example Linktree stuff. This looks exactly what you were talking about. And then,
Yes, that is it.
yeah, so I'm going to also copy this link itself. I think there's a jump button. There we go, jump.
And there is going to be a little bit of overlap between what we've been doing with the link trees and the new project that Eliza announced recently, where we're collabing with 5051 to make a new mutual aid website that'll be national and tell people kind of local mutual aid resources in their area. But what's nice about the link trees is they'll still be useful for connecting all of the GSUS chapters, social media pages, eventually strike funds, as well as these local mutual aid resources or partner organizations. So I think they'll still continue to be a useful tool. So we'll keep probably putting some effort into that in the future, since we've still got, I think, about like 16 or 25 maybe states left to go. I forget how many states are left to do link trees.
So Rent Strike Kyle, did you get the name and the contact for doing the Linktree article? Because obviously I don't know much about the link trees, but it sounds like that person is going to be key for writing that particular wiki article. Did you get that?
I did not.
What
I
was
was
their name again?
scrolling through chats looking for stuff.
What was that name again, Dalian?
For the GSUS resources link tree, that should be Daydreamin'. For state level link trees, there's a Discord username posted next to most of those link trees. I just help tell people, like, if they're interested in starting a link tree, I just give them information on how to do that, and I get them set up with a free email account if they want. And then I don't know who has the access to the, there is a GSUS just plain link tree that's not the resources link tree. I want to say that's probably Eliza if I had to guess, but it might also be Day. Day would probably know. And either Day would know or Eliza would know.
Perfect. Cool. Any other last questions before we kind of wrap up? Maybe do a round of checkouts real quick, and then we're good to go. All right, so I'm just going to start with some checkouts. So this is kind of a time to say how it went for you and what you're going to be working on over the next week. So how it went, what you'll be working on, right? So, and I like to give a number between 0 and 10. So I would say the session was like, you know, a 6.5. We didn't get topics, but that's okay. We had just an informal discussion. Very, very cool. And I'm going to be working on decision making. So I already created the the whole pros and cons of all these decision models, and presenting that to the strategy team. Hopefully in the strategy team, either this or next week, we'll be discussing all of the decision-making options and hopefully eventually slowly prioritizing them. I think it's probably a month-long process of kind of narrowing down and getting any type of proposal. But I'm very excited about it, and that's sort of my main focus right now, besides obviously the public group. Also, really quick update on the public group. Last week and before, there was like 3-4 people who clicked the interested button. And in the last week, there's now 23 people click the interested button on the public group. So I'm probably going to be doing eventually like a scheduling thing to see maybe there's other times during the week, or might even get more people if they're interested in doing a public, transparent, recorded call. So otherwise, we'll just continue with this. This will continue obviously next week at the same time. But that is my plan. So thank you all for coming. Who would like to check out next? Bubbles, you want to go? You want to check out, Bubbles?
Oh, that's me.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was great. It was really interesting, and sorry we didn't stick to an agenda, but it was good stuff, and I feel more hopeful. So my feeling went up to like a 7.
Nice. And what you'll be working on this week? What are you excited about? What sessions you're going to go to? What do you want to work on? All that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna do I just stay on here to go to the
No. So the welcome call is going to be in the main Discord, and you're just going to go down to the bottom, and there'll be like, typically there's like 50 people there. So there's already 3. So it'll be like 50 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So easy to get
So I
to.
think-
And don't turn on your camera there. If somebody puts their camera on in the welcome call, it limits the number of participants in the call to 25 because of the level at which the server is boosted to.
Okay. Well, apparently I can only use my computer if I want to talk on the Jitsi. So I'll do that. Yeah. And
Oh, this is on Discord. It'll be on phone too.
oh, this is on Discord.
Yeah, it's on
Right.
Discord,
Yeah, and so I'm going to do something for the 419 because that's the next event. But I'll get strike cards or the QR code or whatever. I'll figure out which to do, and I'll definitely be asking people if they want to join.
Beautiful. All right, Ren Strike guy Kyle. You want to check out? See how the session went for you? And what you're going to be working on.
I came in late. I'm probably off to prepare for the wiki meeting while lurking in the welcome meeting in case anybody brings up that we should have a Wikipedia or we should have a discussion somewhere about what our general plan as a community should be. And the Wikipedia will also exist as a debate forum for the principles that people think the movement should have. So I'm glad to have showed up, but I'm also sad to have showed up late. And I'd say the meeting went about a, I don't know, arbitrary, imaginary number for me. I hate applying ratings to humans.
For sure. Lariza, you are probably trying to get to the group welcome session, which is going to be in Discord. So go back to Discord and just go all the way to the bottom, and then you're going to click on that. But we're just finishing up our public group meeting. But yes, no problem. You're welcome to check in and out. We were just done. So, okay. And same with Naomi. So I think we're just done here. We can wrap up. And if anyone has questions about getting to the other group, that is good. And I'm actually committed to helping with the article on the wiki for the welcome pack and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. Cool. Any other last things? I think otherwise we're done. And Naomi, you want to go into the Discord all the way to the bottom. You have the group session down there. So we're good. Cool. All right. So next week, same time, I'll talk to you guys all later. And thanks so much again. Yeah.
It was nice meeting you.
Really great meeting you too. Have fun with all the activities. Very cool. Awesome. Ciao.
Here.